Welcome to Criticality Redux, the critical IT OT podcast where we dissect and discuss the most pressing issues in cutting edge technology. From the sprawling challenges facing the modern enterprise to the intricate cybersecurity demands of our nation's critical infrastructure, we cover it all, or at least we try to. Good morning or afternoon. Oh, I started a little early. Hello. Today we were going to have an anti-AI show. That's not what's going to happen. We're actually going to have a positive reflection on not necessarily generative AI, but the artificial, synthetic, advanced, different forms of computational intelligence, and possibly even reflections on quantum mechanics on this show. And to help me with that, I'll be bringing on Joe Soileau. Hello.
Hey.
And Jay Runner. Awesome. Great to have y'all. And before we even really get to know you guys, we're going to jump right into the Wheel of Criticality. Are y'all ready to hit the gauntlet?
Let's go.
Let's see first topic. So, Joe, I'm going to go first, and I'm going to engage with Jay. And then on the next topic, you ask him, you engage with him, and then we'll take turns.
Okay.
So let's see what pops up first. Okay, we got dams. Where are you at in the world, sir?
I'm actually in Georgia.
Georgia. So
yeah.
down. I know y'all think y'all are the South, but I'm in Louisiana, so
okay.
We're
All right.
still north. But
That's right.
dams are kind of a big deal, even though we're flatland here in Louisiana. We have spillways and things that control whether water stays where it goes after the winter thaws and everything come down.
We've got Buford Dam around here, so I mean we've got ones in the area.
How would artificial intelligence and machine learning and all the stuff that's getting put into play right now impact the dam infrastructure that even you in your local area would deal with?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, fish and wildlife and kind of monitoring systems could be used to analyze quickly a massive amount of data, rapidly. Could also look at threat intrusion detection type of things, to make sure if there's a bad actor, downstream conditions, weather conditions, and kind of pattern, preventive releases of water into, downstream waterways if we're expecting deluges and hurricanes that come up from the Gulf or things like that and dump more water than expected. We could be proactive and use tools like that.
You actually, I never even thought of using it for the fish and game, wildlife and fisheries. We can actually use sonar with machine learning and AI and start using it to check on fish populations in front of the dams and things like that. Like that's actually pretty intelligent to where we can start actually being a positive impact.
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought of implementing sonar and other technologies for wildlife and fisheries.
And track it. I mean, not for fish it, but like for ear tags and things like that too.
Definitely. That's extremely valuable. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we're looking at commercial facility sector right now. Okay. And how would you describe it impacting that?
If you think about, obviously, it's similar to what Great Britain does right now. I mean, they have a whole bunch of kind of like CCTV and a bunch of people manually monitoring public spaces for things that look out of sorts. And, while you've got like the Minority Report, and things of that nature that could go the very wrong direction for it. I mean, with the right guardrails in place, I mean, being able to detect pockets of activity that seem abnormal and send, security forces there to try to see, hey, is there something going on there that could potentially negatively impact these large, open, crowded spaces, concerts, gatherings, whatnot, just to help us, gain a little bit more, confidence in our big spaces. And not only that, but, days or even weeks before those events happen, if somebody were to go try to, plant some device that could be later, so they might do their checks a week at a time, but 10 days ahead of time they went and did that. They could go back and look at modeling.
Okay.
That's I'm gonna write a LinkedIn post on that one because we can elaborate on that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, defense industrial base.
Okay, we all have a space there. Yeah, and so I think you can all imagine.
I can't even count. Like I can write a whole thesis and defend it for a PhD on how I would have leveraged AI and machine learning only, not just all the other facets, but just machine learning. When I was in from 2003 to 2013, how would you have used this technology?
Oh my goodness. Then so I was actually in the chemical corps, so nuclear, biological, and chemical defense, and so rapidly detecting and projecting the downwind directions and the appropriate mop posture or the protective posture that the soldier should be in, and predicting where to go, and maybe even changing operational orders to say, hey, instead of doing this today, let's wait until the wind direction's favorable, so if there were an attack, we'd be in a favorable upwind condition, something like that.
That's fantastic. Like I want to say it was the last episode or the one before that, we were actually discussing a little wearable for soldiers, and that would be a perfect use for a wearable that could just get
my goodness, and
the first sergeant or officer could just push out.
And then honestly, like that combined with like GPS technology for positioning, to be able to have like real time, like almost a video game style positioning and command and control.
Yeah. And I
was a battle captain, and out of time, but as a battle captain, that would have been amazing instead of having to deal with the radios all the time. Yeah. Anyway.
Next
time. We'll talk about it later.
Okay, transportation systems.
Ooh, my goodness. I mean, obviously, we've had a recent with air traffic control. I'll just start there. I mean, obviously, with the recent government shutdown, I mean, humans are amazing at being able to monitor and direct and understand that kind of stuff. But if we figure out how to use, kind of redundant systems of AI and quick calculations, and replace those COBOL-based systems that they use to run, air traffic control with something in parallel. Even I almost think I'm like the Paul Bunyan versus the machine kind of, back from the 80s. It's one of those situations where you run them in parallel, and let's say theoretically, like you put an AI system in place to say, could you have predicted and prevented these collisions? Can you do this faster, better? Can you find better ways to scale flights and put them on the runways, and even do things like predictive maintenance and things like that eventually? So I think there's a huge opportunity there. Oh wait,
yeah.
Did I answer the wrong question? Did that say nuclear?
Oh no. When after the question gets selected, it goes away.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, we're doing commercial facilities. I thought we just did commercial facilities.
Yeah, we did that one already. Yeah.
I can go to the one. I can go to the one above it.
We can do it again. No, we'll just spin it again.
All right, respin. All right, I'll take it. I wanted to do nuclear reactors for me. Oh, look, chemical sector. Okay.
So I love to pick on Dow Industrial and DuPont. We have facilities out here in Louisiana for those guys, and I'm fairly familiar with them.
Yep.
But that's just two major players in a huge landscape.
Yeah.
How could this play in their favor? I know how the malicious landscape, the bad guys look in this area, but how could we actually positively impact?
Man, I got to think interactions. I mean, just looking and thinking about some of the modeling, that's possible, and obviously we loaded vast knowledge about, chemical interactions, and we know how things should react and how things should react with different reagents and different conditions and pressures and things like that. So why don't we try to figure out if there's a better, safer, non-microplastic version of Teflon that Dow Corning can create, or a more robust a Pyrex, container that can be even more heat resistant, or better yet, the lids that go on those, make it so that they don't crack and destroy after about 5 washings, and then you have no lid for your Pyrex container.
And on that same topic, some of these companies might actually try to go the other way, and instead of 5 washes, make it crack in 4, because then you have to buy a new one.
Unethical. We have the power. Let's use it for good.
and that's where we all come in as consumers and users and hope that it's used for good.
Yeah.
But when your bottom line is at stake, you kind of
sure.
Your perspective
or even
changes a little.
While the wheel is spinning, just to put a pin in that one too, like how we use chemicals to help with like waste, and treat and all right. Okay. So from a food and agriculture.
Oh, yeah, food and agriculture. Here we go. I have opinions on this. I'm already thinking about it when I saw it pop up.
Okay.
So, but go ahead.
So my big thing there is we've done like all the Monsanto, and this kind of ties back into the chemical thing also at the same time. We spent so much time and effort figuring out how we can get the most yield out of the least amount of space. I think there's a good opportunity for AI to help us understand how much that yield and the soil treatment and even the mechanisms for how we get seed in the ground and harvested could be optimized, so that we can go into areas that would otherwise be unsustainable for farming, and do micro farming on plots in areas that haven't grown food in years, or sustainable food in years. Figure out how to do that using renewable energy, and use wastewater filtration and things to our advantage. The things that we haven't probably even figured out how the pieces fit together yet, but they probably could be.
Oh, definitely. So I think you're definitely onto something there, and we could automate even the process of food collection too, right?
Oh yeah,
that could be something we could do as well.
I used to live in Moline, Illinois, kind of home of John Deere, and they have a bunch of things that they were trying to do, before AI. To map all their, you could have 6 combines going at once, and run it with one person. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Joe keeps getting all the topics I want to talk about. Waste and wastewater sector. I keep getting the most boring topics of the group. But this is actually a good one, because as we all know, our water treatment facilities and stuff, even from our small municipalities up to our larger cities, they are not just H2O.
Yep.
They have additives and things like that.
Yep.
I would love to see a system where there's less human interaction and there's more transparency. It's more autonomous and AI driven, so that a human can just go on a website and the filtration, all the filters, everything is just real time, and we can say, hey, show me, like there's an AI agent involved, and I say, hey, show me filter number 2. Like there's I can pseudo act as an agent. I wouldn't be able to do anything, but I can actually.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: you might be able to actually, because you could think about a distributed system. I mean, we put solar on our roofs. We can get power locally, and we have battery management systems that can direct power, individually to my house that I can log on to an app. We could do the same thing. We could decentralize water treatment. So then if a bad actor came and destroyed our water treatment facilities, every house would at least have a capacity to do the basic and most, the most critical filtration of the solid and that particulate waste, and then down to the chemical, and so, there would be a way to do that and kind of remove the tax burden, and at the same time push it back to the communities.
That is, so we have 2 wells here on the farm. And we actually do have that capability. So what you're saying is use the same type of well structure, but how we have the energy substations, maybe have
Sure.
well substation for like a neighborhood or something.
And pump substations too, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to keep the pressure, and then it could be monitored in almost like a hive system, right? So you know where to direct pressure when it's not in use. I mean, so
I actually really like that concept. I'll it's worth following up on.
Yeah.
That's a
IT
big money.
sector.
It's a big money deal.
IT. Oh,
Yeah, IT sector here.
all right. Well, I mean, I think that one's kind of a softball. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it negatively impact like jobs, right? Because I think companies have over rotated, and I mean, the original spirit of this conversation was supposed to be around the negative aspect, and how we combat that. And so I think it's really easy to look at the downside of companies getting richer and people becoming more unemployed. But if done the right way, and we keep human in the loop, I mean, it just points to scale. These companies are talking about scale, scale, scale. You can't scale by increasing technology and reducing support. I mean, it conceptually, it doesn't make sense. It looks good for the bottom line, and the CEOs that are in power right now are going to take home some fat bonuses. But at the end of the day, you're cutting too deep, and you're going to have to add people back, or you're just
right.
Yeah.
And it seems like as humans, we're always kind of we want to have that human element still involved in our interactions. We don't want everything to be completely automated all the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the cell phone carrier, the V word here, and say I've had some pretty bad experiences with their AI support, and it's not something I'd choose to do if I had to. Okay. So I live in Georgia. Yeah.
I have to remind you, it's more than just nuclear reactors in this sector.
Yep.
But that is, the prime topic, because
Yep.
normally we're looking at this from a cybersecurity, a red team, a blue team, one of the other facets. But I would like to kind of brush over this with an AI paintbrush here.
Yeah. So I mean, kind of like the power, like energy sector in general, but I'm going to take it a slightly different route to get. I mean, now you guys have probably heard, I've been following around the military using the micro nuclear reactors, for deployable as deployable units of power, and not having a nuclear or a staff of nuclear technicians, that deploys with you. AI is going to have a huge impact in detecting when things start to look a little bit funny. And, it's got to be more than a manual series of levers and gauges. You have to have somebody help you figure that out.
What you're talking about is actually one of the scary parts of having a human in a loop. Because as the three of us know, and we've been to many of these briefings where threat actors, I'm not going to name any countries, but they pay our people off. They find them when they're in debt. They find them when they're in divorce situations, and they offer them a way out if they, give us documents or give us a key chip or a key card or anything. And I don't want humans in those situations. I know this sounds...
or controlled for, right? I mean, using AI, using blockchain, using, all kinds of things to say this doesn't seem like it's mission oriented.
All right, healthcare and public health sector.
All right, so my wife has been in the public health and healthcare sector for as long as I've known her. She was a nursing student when we met, and she's done roles in education all along. Some of the things that you see now is, of course, doctors are highly skilled, and they've taken a lot of time and money to get to the positions where they are, but doctors make mistakes. And, the AI agents that could be in the room, that can be in the surgery centers, that are saying simple things to the anesthetist, saying, are you sure you want to push that much? Because if you look at the size and you're pushing too much medication, this could be dangerous, and at least be there as a guide. Or even simple things like scribes, as I'm narrating what's going on, the AI doesn't just simply take notes, but it also creates bullets, and it sends, feedback to the pathology and everything else that's going on in surgery centers. So I think there's a huge untapped, and people are going to be really nervous when it comes to their healthcare and their personal health. But we're already using it. We jump on Google and
Yeah.
ask all the time, should I go to the doctor for this? And then probably make a decision not to go to the doctor because of AI. So
And the
I would
healthcare sector is going to definitely want this. I mean, to me, it's obvious for liability reasons. They're going to gear towards that to protect, the staff and the doctors and everything else.
So I want to jump in real quick and let's
Yeah.
stop the timer for a second. So my stepmom, who was a very petite woman, the human doctors put her gastro endoscopy stuff on adult settings when she's the size of a 14-year-old girl, 13,
mhm.
14-year-old girl, and they blew her up like a balloon and killed her.
Oh.
These type that definitely wouldn't have happened with an automated system. That
Mhm.
was a very bad human error, and the laws in Louisiana make it to where there's nothing we could do in the family because they kept passing the ball on whose fault it was. And years and years and years down the road, my my dad passed and he had the case, and like it just kept being a thing. And we can start it back up. This wasn't my sector, and I wanted to say why
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
would have
No, it's good.
I'd still have a family because my stepmom took care of my dad who didn't
Yeah.
take care of himself, and I'd still have those people in my life right now if there was a more autonomous system here.
That human error,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, humans aren't perfect, and I know machines taking our jobs suck, but sometimes they need to.
All right. I jump right on this, because you think about everything emergency. I mean, fire detection and routing. I mean, they've already got some pretty good, with the 911 systems that are in place. They already have a pretty good system to get people there, in time. But when you talk about when you get on site, that's where I think there's options to have earpieces and situations like, I mean, I'm thinking even like an augmented reality kind of thing where the firefighters have like visors and they're going into these buildings that's hard to see, and like a schematic comes up and they're like, hey, straight ahead is the place where is the kitchen, you
We've
can't see
talked
through the
about
smoke.
this a lot, but we've never really brought up the Iron Man, Tony Stark version of
Yeah.
this. I've
Yeah.
talked about, we've previous shows we've talked about the malicious side of this because you can SWAT somebody
Mhm.
really bad with AI, and get fire departments, police, ambulances, all these kind of things to people's houses by
Yeah.
deep faking and all this other stuff. There's bad things we can do and abuse the emergency service sector.
Yeah.
But how amazing would this be for firefighters and police and other?
Or even home first aid, like
Yeah.
how do you provide, like, I don't know CPR maybe, but maybe I could use AI to walk me through it
Hey,
in an emergency. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and the drone deployment too. I've read about that recently for it. The automated drone deployment for emergencies. That's really useful too.
Yeah.
Financial services sector.
All right. So one of my backgrounds was at Equifax, and obviously fraud is huge, in credit reporting. And then, I've supported banks and I'm currently supporting a bank right now. So, they have to be very careful when you think about AI and how they use that because it deals with consumers' privacy information. And as we all know, AI is not great about preserving and protecting individuals, identifiable information. And so they've been they will be probably the laggards in this sector because of they're so gun shy with everything that they've seen and done with the manual controls not even being effective. If automation goes wild in this space, that could be bad, really bad. But where it could help also is in fraud detection, obviously, so if put in the right place, you could use the same systems that can't guard your PI to identify patterns that would be fraudulent.
While the wheel's spinning, how many movies would have been shut down if AI detection was watching people case the joint?
Oh,
Those movies would be over as soon as it started.
Exactly.
Just had to throw that
We caught you.
Energy sector. Like, we hit on this a couple times already, but how we have the our grid is,
Mhm.
we've had this in place for ages, and
Yep.
it's a good vector for malicious attacks. But we're starting to incorporate renewables heavily,
Yeah.
especially out here in the Gulf.
Oh, absolutely.
What's it like on the East Coast? Or I know in the Northeast, we've got a couple companies doing
Yeah.
windmills out in the ocean. Are y'all seeing stuff like that out in Georgia?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, I actually supported the energy sector for a little while with a startup that we were trying to do green data centers, and try to support the growth there. But there's 6 interconnects right now that in the country that kind of keep the grid going. And the thing that we've seen is coal plants start to shut down as we start to stand up some of these pockets of solar and wind and geothermal, is that those actually harden the grid. Because you're not reliant upon long transmissions, because you can put those things closer to the population centers, whereas previously the factories had to be away from population centers, because if you had a meltdown, if you had something go on, you had one of those industrial sectors to be further away from the populations. But now, if you think about it, if we can put solar on the roof and we can use AI again, I'm going to use the hive thing again. But if we can figure out energy from a hive perspective, the hardest part about the energy sector is keeping the power on.
That
when
one
it
went
needs to run.
fast.
Yeah, lots to talk about in energy.
On here at we have 6,400 watt panels on ours, and each one has its own microprocessor.
Yeah,
And it'd be nice to have AI, because as the sun moves across the sky, we'd be able to move which panels are used more, and that would actually increase the lifespan of the panels.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not; they're all dumb. So.
Oh yeah, communication sector.
All right, my head goes straight to cellular communications, and you think about I'm going to go straight to an emergency. During hurricane season, what happens? Everybody wants to call to make sure their loved ones are okay. There's towers that go down, so increased demand, decreased traffic, decreased ability to push the traffic. It seems like there'd be a way to kind of use AI to capture those signals and say, look, this would normally route through cellular, but you're on Wi-Fi, so I'm going to send it through the computer instead of across the towers, right? And we're going to automatically route that. Huh?
Whose turn is it? It's Joe's. So I'm gonna tag in on this one. Sure. On a maritime vessel, we have tons of different types of communications, from radios and LiDAR and just all kinds of different signals everywhere. Ashley, our moderator, and myself, we were directly hit by a Cat 4 hurricane and had to live almost 3 months on generator power, no cell towers. We had to drive almost 2 hours just to get some internet. Actually, that would be fantastic if the National Guard would come in, put in a nice AI system that can pick up signals and then create a temporary thing that would just
like a local grid or something.
All we have is ham radio signals right now. Cool, we'll make a broadcast system with that. All we have is shortwave, not shortwave because it's ham, but all we have is FM. Cool, we'll piggyback off of this. Or all we have is sat phone. We'll piggyback off of that.
Almost like a universal translator. I mean, data is data. Let's figure out how to get data from one to another one. So,
but AI systems would definitely be able to do that.
Yeah. It's like a Rosetta Stone, but for communication signals instead. So nice.
Yeah, so I didn't mean to jump into it. Critical man. So I don't know why this is the last one. I'd like to get this out the way first. Critical infrastructure is everything in the world around us. Yeah. It is how we are different from animals. We took fire and made it a thing. We took wheel and made it a thing. Critical manufacturing is how we build the wheel and apply it to stuff.
Yeah.
So using artificial intelligence to make our rebar more efficient, our concrete more efficient. We went from Roman concrete, which is self-healing and lasting for thousands of years, to Louisiana roads, which last a day and a half.
Yeah, I was going to say every year, right?
I'm thinking artificial intelligence to analyze efficiencies and create better ways to make, because I lived in Germany.
Yeah.
When the Autobahn has a wrinkle, they've got crews on that. Like we should be using technology to emulate the better infrastructures of other countries. How would you look at how we make things make things?
I think it's interesting. I think we have to make it. We live in America, United States of America, and it's comes down to economy. Like you alluded to it, right? It's profitable for businesses things to break down after 5 to 7 years, because then you have to buy a new one. You think about the repair industry right now. It doesn't exist, because for the TV that I paid $300 for, the part is going to be $200 and the labor is going to be $400 to fix, right? So it leads to this nasty cycle of just throw it away, and nobody else wants to fix it either, because it's just cheaper to get one. And so if we could figure out some ways to use AI and 3D printing and like a troubleshooting guide and put everything together, and maybe even just go back to like the Main Street fix-it shop, right? Like, I don't want to have to send my TV back to Samsung in South Korea to get it fixed. I'd like somebody down the street to be able to have one of these AI capabilities where they just come in, they put it on the monitor, AI runs through every circuit on there, identifies the issue, and then tells me what I need to do and allows me to 3D print the part. Yeah. Anyway.
So what's our last? A more efficient use of resources for sure.
Oh, yeah. Build as you go.
Oh, yeah. Government services and facilities.
Okay. So with the government services and facilities sector, I mean, I will speak ill of it. Doge was a failure. They came in and they tried to do some efficiencies, but they did it the wrong way. They slashed and burned, right? They didn't think about the second and third order effects of the things that they were doing, and it had very real impacts. And, now they're clawing back some of the efficiencies they gained and putting the things right back in place again, because they didn't think about what those second and third order models were. Now with AI, you could say, hey, look, we're considering doing this. Let's run it through a simulation to see what happens to all the things that have been connected into this model when we take this one piece out. I mean, because it's a house of cards, as we've seen in practice. We know what the wrong way to do it is. So we can use AI to figure out better ways to do it the right way, or at least impact the smallest part of that house as possible to determine how it works, monitor it for a little while, and then if that worked okay, then move on to the next part of the house and take it room at a time instead of collapsing the whole kingdom.
Right. And the approach to government services may be a bit different than, for-profit systems too.
Oh, no.
I think that's important to keep in mind too. So.
Yeah. No, we can't treat everything as a business as we've seen, because even in businesses, there's things that you do in business that are cost centers and always will be. Quality control is a cost center. It's a check of something that should have been done right. But if you don't do quality control and that hits the customer, the recovery of that customer is 10 times more expensive than the quality failure.
Exactly.
So
it's that long-term ROI you're looking at, not necessarily just the short-term.
Yep. You got it. Yep. So that's our gauntlet, huh?
Yes.
All right, that was fun.
We're in the postmortem. Right, on to the next section, which is be coming up here in a second. All right. We pulled up a lot more than I honestly thought we would. There's a couple of topics, and when I go back and edit this, I'm going to start making LinkedIn posts because I really want to dig into some of these. It was super odd because, Joe, you got some hot topics, man. Like I'll be making at least 5 LinkedIn. Like I'm gonna have to space them out one a day for the next week. But you got some really good topics this go around, and there's some really good conversation that was brought up from it. So how did you guys see this as we went through it?
Joe, you want to go first?
I mean, it was quick, but I think it was, and the fact that it was quick forced us to kind of engage too, and to think, on our feet about things. So I don't know. I like it. I like it because the way it's set up is you're touching on these topics and then you're going to follow up with it, right? And you're going to go more in depth into those topics and points that we hit on. So I like the process.
Yeah, I like the process too. I almost feel like you need 90 seconds, but then
I know.
that extent with as many topics as you have, that takes up 3/4 of the podcast too. So I get it, but it's almost like you need 30 seconds to introduce the topic and then a minute to answer and engage, right? So, but I also tend to be a little bit more verbose than I should be, so I can scale it back a little bit too. So
when we did the first go through in the demo of all this, we were doing it in a list and even a random list. But we found when I was looking for a way to add that little buffer zone, and we were like, what if we do a wheel? And during that time that it spins, we either have 5 seconds to finish or start up a new thought or something. So
no,
we
that's
kind of put in that buffer.
Oh, and it's great, and it doesn't lead to awkward pauses because you're trying to get everything out quickly enough, and then by that time that you're on the next topic and you have to go again, so it works.
Nice. Is there any topics that you guys think that y'all would make a LinkedIn post on that y'all would like to follow up about?
About one of those 16 or about anything
that we brought up in here that maybe y'all weren't even expecting to talk about, or a thought that came up out of it that you're like, oh wow, there was not a thought in my life that led to this thought, but dang, I just had this thought and now I want to give it life.
For me, it was you go ahead, Jay.
Oh, okay. I just feel like we operate in silos within sectors, and I just think the interconnectivity about how what I do in the dam sector impacts the energy sector, which impacts the communication sector. Like if the dam goes out and it washes out my cell tower, and then I have to do FEMA communication, like all those things can be either preventable or addressable, with an interconnected system of AI. And so I think not necessarily any one thing specifically, but just thinking about how each topic could relate to 3 or 4 other topics.
That's true. It's all interconnected. For me, it's the constant, pretty much every question brought up the human element for me and how this is going to impact society. And that's what's constantly running in the back of my mind when we discuss this, and how society is going to it might be a little painful to adapt to something like this. We're moving from a model where we needed people and individuals to do, very menial tasks and repetitive tasks. And now we're kind of moving away from that with AI. And that's a challenge, I think, that we're going to be looking at. That's going to be maybe one of the more challenging aspects of it.
And what you said is so valuable, because they have the upfront front end artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, that looks like it will do what you want it to do, but it doesn't. I mean, it does look nice, but it chunks words. It doesn't have intelligence. You have to add systems onto, and those systems have to be refined. So these companies are not even cutting fat; they're cutting meat and bone.
Yeah, right.
Because they think what they have in front of them is doing what they want it to do, what they hired people to do. But they're not understanding that next quarterly meeting, next stockholders meeting, they're going to be having to explain why things are failing. And the meeting after that, they're going to have to understand where their stock prices are failing. The meeting after that, they're going to have to understand where they're hiring people back at double the salaries and new benefits, because the talent pool has gone from a saturated market to now people are leaving tech and going into welding and plumbing and the vocational jobs that I've been pushing for years. Because that's where I don't know if y'all's LinkedIn feed looks like this, but everybody's got a green looking for work, and everybody's talking about, you know what, in a couple months I could just be a welder making almost as much as I'm making now. And it's a permanent job that a robot can't take. Yes, we can make robot welders that do industrial stuff, but they can't go to a ranch and do stuff. They can't go over here and make this custom job. And the same with plumbing. We can do robots that do industrial face-to-face type plumbing jobs, but they can't go fix somebody's house, or they can't go. So those are going to be human jobs for the foreseeable future. And a lot of tech people that just got hammered because they have the degrees, the certs, the experience. They thought and they think they've got the cushion, and now they can't get jobs because AI recruiters and AI ATS empowered systems where you can have a perfect resume if a human saw it, but it never makes it to a human. So we're just in this really terrible part of the year and this cycle.
It's like you guys.
Unfortunate.
It's like you guys set me up perfectly because So
time to talk about.
If I want to transition into and migrate, you're right. I mean, LinkedIn, most social media, everybody has at least one friend, and most of us probably a dozen that pop into the feed that said, "Hey, I thought I was safe. I was wrong. Now I'm struggling and I'm panicking because I haven't updated my resume in 12 years. I let my social network collapse because I thought I was going to retire out of this. And now I've got 10-year gap to try to figure out what I'm going to do and try to find a new, footprint." So about 2 years ago, about 3 years ago, I thought of life work and started socializing it with a few friends in my network. And you eventually hear, somebody say, "Well, that wouldn't work because of this." But the interesting thing is that I didn't get that. Every time I talk to a friend, every time I talk to a colleague, somebody says, "What you guys are working on could actually work." And it only really works because of AI, right? So that's the tie-in here. And what we're trying to do is kind of flip the script on the ATS system, which uses fuzzy keyword logic. And you have to know what's in the head of the recruiter and the communication specialist that wrote the job posting and make sure that your post, I mean, it is truly luck, right? If you get picked up, it is luck. And the fact of the matter is there's not one perfect match for the job. That job posting, the way it was written, could probably be a perfect match for hundreds or thousands of people. So it's not like they found you because you were the best fit. You were just in the right place at the right time, and you happened to use the right keywords. So we wanted to take luck a little bit out of the factor and say, you know what, because of AI, and instead of using AI to replace your job, we're using it to enhance your profile. And I know, Joseph, you working on this kind of from the psychology perspective, and so are we. But our focus is more of a holistic view of you are not just the sum of the skills and experience that you can fit on 2 pages. And AI allows us to say, let's blow away the notion that the resume is even necessary anymore. Instead, what I should do is focus on creating my autobiography. I want to go back from the time that I was in high school and talk about the things that interested me in high school, what drove my interest in the fields that I'm in today, how I progressed from one field of study to another one. Did I accident into it, or did I do it on purpose? And then once you've determined what your history is, you take a slow look at, am I satisfied with am I happy with what I'm doing? And then you take a battery, if you will, of different personality engaging tests, the Acumax Index, the Myers-Briggs, the Ocean Assessment, and kind of figure out who you are at your core, and use all those things to be introspective. We don't officially brand ourselves this way, but we're kind of an antisocial platform because it's all about privacy and introspection. Your data is yours. When you share your resumes, when you upload your evaluations and upload the results of your test scores that you've taken and your third-party analyses and credit scores, you name it, right? You can build this, like we were talking earlier, Joseph, this dossier that it helps define who you are as much as you want to tell it. But then it also uses third-party resources. So if I want to download my credit report from Equifax, it'll tell me what my credit history looks like. And fun fact, many people don't know this, but Equifax has a different credit report called the work number. Have you guys heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the work number the government uses, and they're the sole contractor for the government, but other people can pay them for this information too. But because it's a credit report, everybody can get it on themselves. And what it is it's a history of your reported work history. So anytime you've filled out an I-9, anytime you've gotten a W-2, like I can go back from the time that I joined the Army, which was my first real job. And that was reported anyway. And from the time I was a second lieutenant until last week, my report, I've got a 60 some odd page report that shows my work history, and it will, and you can attach that, and it'll tell you, and that'll essentially prove beyond just what you chose to write on your resume. The AI will take a look at what you said you did, and it will bounce that up against the third-party validation that says Equifax agrees that you did these things also. It can't qualify these statements, but it can quantify that I was there in the timeframes that I said I was. So if you think about your resume, it's like an unverified Twitter profile, right? You could be real or you could be completely fake. And that's what recruiters have to deal with. And so they have to do their best to try to figure out, should I even screen this person, or does it just look like they took the job description and created a fake resume just to get the interview? And so what we're proposing is a combination of trust but verify, in the sense that, hey, here's my resume, but the platform will ask you to verify that for yourself and say, if you had to prove this to an employer, what would you give them to prove that you did this task? And that could be recommendations. It could be like, think about your LinkedIn profile. On the bottom part of your LinkedIn profile, that's where you have all your endorsements. And if somebody writes you a recommendation, now granted, you're not going to reach out to somebody that you had a bad working relationship with and ask them to write a bad review on you. So it's still going to be, a nice looking section for you. But if you've got 55 people that are willing to go out on a limb and put their name and your name in the same sentence to say, I would work with Jay again, or I would work with Joseph again, and here's why. That's evidence that doesn't exist on a resume. So the idea is building this holistic profile. And then the third part is, where do you want to be in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years? And then take those career mapping assessments to say, based on what you've done, based on your capabilities now and all the transferable skills you have, if you want to do this at year 1 and year 3, here's what we recommend you do to best position yourself in the market to get the skills, the education, the knowledge, and the practice, doing those things, so that way you can be an attractive hire for somebody who's looking. So that's just the one side. We actually have a 4-sided platform. I'm going to be very brief about this, I promise. That's just the user side, the explorer side. We're compass themed, and so that is the west side. The east side of the compass is the job providers. They want to know that information, and they're trying to get that off of a 2-page resume. So what we're doing is we're using the exact same platform that helps you build your persona to empower the recruiters to evaluate that persona. Imagine if you went on to LinkedIn right now and found a job that you thought you'd be absolutely perfect for, and there's already 1,000 applicants. You wouldn't bother applying, right? You say, that job's saturated. They're not even going to get to me because they take these in FIFO order, and they're going to get bored by the time they get to me.
It's still recording?
Well, okay. Well,
now we had a glitch.
Okay, it's all good.
Okay, I think we might have lost the last 30 seconds or so.
Okay, no biggie. We can go back and piece it together, but I'll just do and then we'll come back at this point. And so the recruiter side of the platform basically takes all that knowledge, and then it keeps it anonymized. With a resume, even a simple resume, when I submit that, they know my name, my address, and they have my whole history, and they can use that for data mining. With our platform, you just see candidate 1, candidate 2, candidate 3, and it strips out all the personally identifiable information. So you can't be judged against your age, against your race, gender. So all those things that people have, even unintentional biases, people in their best practice will have unintentional bias. We can't avoid that, but we can do a better job of creating no bias in a system that doesn't care. We have a model that's disconnected from bias at this point, and it focuses just on those factors that matter for the job. And so even if the job said something like must be able to lift 50 pounds, it's not going to be biased towards a male. It's not going to be biased towards a male, because there are males that can't lift 50 pounds and there are females that can out bench press me, right? So, let's not assume that just because I'm applying for something that I don't have the qualifications. So in any case, the privacy is huge for us. And then that also empowers the agencies and the hiring managers to make good, fact data-based decisions and say, I want to actually phone screen these top 5 candidates because it's gone through and it's looked at the jobs, it's looked at your and it's stacked all the candidates. So if you're the 1,001st, but you're actually the best candidate, it's going to rank you as, hey, I know you just applied and we're just getting ready to close out this job, but you just zoomed to the front of the line because you actually are the ideal candidate for this job because it looked at all 12 factors that it analyzed, took the facts out of it, looked at your persona, looked at the persona of the hiring manager and said that hiring manager doesn't like to micromanage people and you don't like to be micromanaged, right? So you can even start getting those kinds of psychological inputs into the decisioning, not to make the final decision, but to screen out the 900 people that have no business interviewing for that job.
I'm gonna cut you off right here with a lot of respect. I know what you're saying is a great idea because 90% of everything you've said, I pitched to Ms. Deidre Diamond, formerly of Rapid7, and now Cyber SN back in 2022. I've got the presentations, I've got everything. I've met her team. Like this, Diamond and myself have gone deep into this for a couple months, but at the end of the day, it didn't sync with her vision. But I know it's a good idea. I knew it was a good idea back then because we were having a cyber issue with hiring back in 2022 because of the pandemic and everybody flooding in, millions of boot camps saying earn 6 figures working from home because pandemic. Everything you said for the last few minutes is in my presentation, but you added a little bit on top of it. Almost everything that wasn't in my presentation back then, I just built into my new system as of last night before I even talked to you. And anybody who's watching the show that's in the Cubicorum, y'all can actually go and verify in the Discord server right now because Paul Deadlife was testing the systems where he aggregated the 5-year job model. As soon as you start the program, it asks you what you wish to be in 5 years. It looks for all the skills, abilities, everything. It pulls it. It looks for colleges. It takes all the curriculum and it looks for a return on investment of what your salaries could be over the 5 years. And then we've got a timestamp for when you make that. And then every couple months, go off that timestamp and ask you where you are, your thing, and if there's anything to help, it's going to build you, add some keywords and skills, do some micro learning. All this kind of stuff is in the system as of last night.
Very nice.
I've never even heard you pitch this. You don't seem like a dumb person, and I always assume I'm the dumbest person in the room. But if we're saying the same things, I can assume it's a fairly intelligent thing that you're working on and building. So I fully support it because it's saying that I was right back in 2022.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. Like I said, that's when we first started socializing it as well, right? Was 2022. Well, you think about the timing, ChatGPT, that's when it got big. That's when it got public, right? And, so the people that are already forward thinking about where could this solve the gaps? And it doesn't matter who you talk to. If you talk to somebody who's in the job market currently, somebody who would like to be in the job market, but they can't afford to lose their job because they don't know how long it would be to get to the next one. Recruiters hate where we are right now because the way people tend to use AI is the wrong way, which is fake my resume and blast it out to 10,000 places, right? Yeah. Not the right approach, or they take the digital marketing approach, which saying I built a tool which scrapes LinkedIn profiles, and then I'm going to share that with you like it's a pre-filtered list. Well, 99% of those people are happy where they're at and don't even want to talk to you and probably aren't even qualified to do that. So in any case, it's if we do it the right way, it will work, and we're getting good market traction. And I know I want to actually pivot this into something that I know is part of this segment, which is talking about charities. So I just had a recent good charity that I'm working with called 4Block, and you guys may have heard of them or not, but 4Block is a military veteran and spouse-focused organization. They're a 501c3, and they work with transitioning soldiers, veterans, and their families to try to find meaningful employment and do, I'll say, an analog version of what we've just been talking about as far as what we can do with AI. And where we are with them, from a partnership standpoint, is we've just started talking. But everything that you talked about, what does a civilian career map look like, and how do you in parallel overlay that to what you've done in the military, and how do you take this and then do that crossover and say, now I'm ready to do what I've been doing in the military in the civilian sector, and I've got the right certifications and capabilities to do that. And then, oh, by the way, I've also worked with a coach and a mentor. And so a lot of these organizations, 4Block is one of them, and I'll just call out a few. ACP, is another one, American Corporate Partnerships. I've mentored for them for a couple of years. They're great, but they're 15 years ago in their technology. They have databases and they track people and they ask you to upload resumes, and it's not smart in any way. They rely on their people, which is great because their people are great people. But what we're partnering with them to do is help bring AI, help bring holistic profiling, help bring visibility and data management to this huge population of people. 200,000, active duty soldiers become veterans every year, right? And they need to be injected into the right place in the civilian job market. So
not just the coming in, the ones that have been left behind.
Yeah. And veterans that have been out for a while, and have never really transitioned into the role they were meant
in the first place.
Because so many of us
I don't know when. Yeah. The process to get out of the has improved little by, but it's still, we get out thinking our ribbons, our awards, our achievements, all the skills we have, they're going to mean something, a drop in the bucket, anything. But when you get out into the big bad world, if anything, it just brings jealousy. But at the end of the day, it doesn't bring
apathy.
anything. Yeah. I've got leadership skills for almost 8 years. Since I left the military, I've never had a significant leadership role of more than 10 people, even though I've led ridiculousness in combat. Even like I can do all that in combat, in nonsense stuff, but in the civilian world, in a tame sock, give me 2 time. Oh no, that might be too much.
Emergency operations centers mean something completely different in civilian versus military, right? So
but the people coming out definitely need that filter, that translator. But also there should not be homeless people, because even if you went through boot camp, you've got enough skills just in boot camp alone to be earning a good $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 job, because there's companies that need those skills and don't even know you have those skills.
Right.
So that's
and it's
we need to make that happen.
Yeah. And so the north and the south part of our compass are third parties, so if you think about the core of what we're doing is information and visibility and, connections. And then the mentoring piece is kind of the south part of the compass. The north part is all those other connectors, Skillsoft, Coursera, and companies that provide legitimate certifications, ones that are validated and well-known, the PMI, like for PMP certification, things like that belong up there. But also people that have gone out and become solopreneurs to help people write better resumes and to help people practice their interviews. We've got partners that are doing things in similar spaces to say, I want to create a rating system for companies that are notorious for providing ghost jobs, like just data farms out there posting a role and then never hiring for it. So they're creating an organization to people who have applied to jobs and never hear back, or get far enough down the interview process and then just get ghosted, then they can be reported. And they basically have to log in as that organization to defend themselves. Otherwise, their ratings get tanked, right? So so it's kind of like the Yelp for for the hiring experience. But those are all the kinds of partners that we're reaching out to. People are trying to change the landscape and engage and embed, because we're small. We can't do it on our own. And there's people doing niche things out there that help and that some people will need, but not everybody will. So
I doubt they're going to say no. The Cubic Quorum is a lot of veterans, and what we are from the outside looking in is a workforce where, I'd say about 70-75% are young people coming in, career pivoting people, and we gamify the training. We have peer-to-peer relationships and stuff like that, but we are a workforce, and we help people build their networks. We help them get jobs. We mentor and do all that kind of stuff. So we'd love to be on board as well. Again, I got to get the thumbs up from the other people, but I highly doubt, because we love to work with people like Life Work. Everything you've said is what we've been trying to get. And Ms. Deidre Diamond, if you are listening to stuff we were trying to bring to you back in 2022. Anyways,
I recognize that name, and I actually
I'm kind of glad it didn't work.
Well, I recognize that name, and I guess I'm going to go on record saying
it's breaking up a little bit for me too. I don't know if the connection's kind of
okay. I think we're
probably
back.
got every kid in the house watching Netflix right now.
That'll do
it. Yeah, but no, I think where I was going with that was, absolutely, that I think Deidre Diamond is a name that was mentioned. So the organization that I was talking about, rating for ghost jobs, I think the CEO of that foundation is one of our partners, and I think she's talking with Deidre Diamond also. So it could be that it comes full circle, and maybe
she's a great person.
Yeah.
But she just, back in 2022, she had a vision, and Cyber CN, which is the organization she was building at the time, she had that specific vision for it, and it just didn't match up just right back then.
Yeah.
So this is by no means talking bad about her. I'm glad that I'm able to show her this is what it could have been. So that's a pretty cool full circle moment on that end.
Nice.
It sounds like at some point, just listening to y'all talk and everything, is at some point we could just log on somewhere and be like, okay, what's the top job for me that's available out there?
Yes.
You wouldn't even have to, go looking for the job that you wanted. There would be that match between like your life and your history, like you were talking about, Jay, and then
the way we do jobs right now is so broken, and we've known it for years.
Yeah, our vision,
try new things.
Part of our vision statement for, we were aggressive in 2023 when, March of 2023 is when we put our stake in the ground. So we're coming up on, March of 2024 is when I put our stake in the ground. And so we're coming up on 2 years officially in March of this year. But our vision statement for our 5-year goal was to have our platform be the place where jobs applied to you and not the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's clear in the way that you're talking about. I think the way you describe everything leads straight to that vision.
And here's what I'll do. Like, I'm gonna give everybody a code, and you can flash it up here. But if anybody wants to go and try out where we are in kind of an open beta situation right now. We're relying on Microsoft Azure credits, that we're trying to burn through, and so we can offer it for free for a period of time. But ultimately, the way we want to monetize this is not with the end user, but with the corporates. So we want them to pay for the privilege of being able to easily find and sort the right people for the role. And in doing so, that's where we fund the availability to host, the free profile and the holistic profile of things. So go take a look and see where we are. We've a team of 3, right now essentially that are doing this. So we're not very stacked in that space, but we're trying to get our proof beyond proof of concept and into a usable space. And so with this code, it's just beta MVP 0. And so you got to kind of keep that to yourselves. I don't want that to be like posted too publicly in the group settings on the Discord. That'd be great, because we can handle probably about 40 or 50 about 40 or 50 more people right now, I think, and not have it be too challenging. But right now, what you can do is you can load up as many documents as you want. It's like I described earlier, previous resumes, performance reviews, anything that you have that kind of helps describe who you are. The personality piece isn't built in yet. That's going to be for the next iteration. But then you can also you can look at jobs that we've got fake jobs up there that you can apply to, and you can see your score. So essentially tells you what the ATS system is thinking of you, and it helps you tweak and understand what you need to change on, or how you need to write your resume so to have a better chance to pass existing ATS filters. But then there's also a place in there, if you apply to a LifeWork job, you can see what it looks like. If companies start posting their jobs through LifeWork, it's going to be a much better situation. And that's going to get us one step closer to what I described of companies applying to you instead of the other way around. Because once we have, hundreds or thousands of people on the platform that are focused on their own careers and making sure that the representation of their profiles as closely represent them as possible, then it's going to be anonymized. It's going to be de-identified.